ideas actually to give you an overview of how you can actually use AI and use that, how we use that inside Microsoft. The idea here is more about enabling people to do AI in their day-to-day work. So when we are talking AI, normally we are talking about vision, speech, and language. So these are the three main things that people use normally for AI, but when we actually have 2 or 3 other categories of AI. So we can actually talk about AI as these, what we call it, sensitive intelligence, that's actually human intelligence here. And then there's the second level of AI that's about reasoning, understanding, and interacting with human beings. So we actually can go on the first one. Computers are doing really well, okay? Computers can actually view, read, and speech, and even translate language better than us. But on the second part about understanding, interacting, all of that, we're still far away from actually what we expected from true artificial intelligence. So Microsoft's approach about AI is empowering 3 things. It's about meaningful innovation, empowering people, and being responsible with what we do. So about meaningful innovation. If you look at what has been happening on AI over the past few years, if you go from the 90s until 2019, this is just the environment that have been by Microsoft being done. So we actually do like Bing search. We actually started more in the search space, like most of the AI companies and do. And we actually, when you look at that, so I look for Azure machine learning and all of that. But this has been speeding up recently. So if you actually focus on just the last 2 years. So we are looking at just 2017, 2019. These are all different services that actually were released just these 2 years inside AI, inside Microsoft. So the first thing is about doing that. It's about being meaningful over the innovation that we do and being meaningful over the things that we do. But today, I think the most important thing here for this hack is about what's our work empowering people. So the idea of Microsoft is that everyone should be able to use AI on their day-to-day work, and AI should be able to help everyone on what they do on day-to-day. So there is AI Business School. That's one thing that Microsoft has released. If you go AKA/MS/AIBS, it's not AI bullshit, but AI Business School. So that actually you can look at that and have a lot of case studies and testings and actually learning material for you to learn a little bit more about AI. And we actually have a really good engagement with that. So when you're talking about AI, that's normally quite exchanged with machine learning. It's not the same thing. When you're talking about AI, we are talking something way more complex than just machine learning. But machine learning is normally the area that you're going to focus on, especially for this hack, is normally what you're talking about when you're talking about AI. So Microsoft has all these different layers that you can use to use AI inside Azure, and we do that. So we can go for domain-specific pre-trained models. That's actually things that are built in already, so you don't need to actually change anything that it does. You can go to data science tools that you use normally. So if you're using Visual Studio Code, Azure Notebooks, Jupyter, or even the command line, can help you on that. We do support all the popular frameworks like PyTorch, TensorFlow, and all that. And we even have like some services that allow you to be more productive with those frameworks. So if you are looking at like Azure Databricks, Azure Machine Learning, and all those things, these are services that help you build on top of those frameworks. So how to use those frameworks easier without needing to install a lot of things on your machine and things like that. And if you just want infrastructure, if you just want to have 1,000 GPUs that I want to use, it's easy for you. Actually can give you that intelligence too. So there's a lot of different dials, and depending on what you're doing, you actually be choosing one of those. So first thing I'm going to talk to you a bit is about AI apps, especially Azure Cognitive Service. And these are all the cognitive services that we have available at the moment. And as you can see, there are a lot of different things depending on what you have been using. So if you are doing like decision maker, so you want to do anomaly detection or something like that, that is a lot of the challenge here can be built on top of that. There are pre-trained models that you can actually just use these models and do that. Computer vision, language recognition, web search, and even speech to text. These are things that have been trained already. You can just get that and use that on your day-to-day. These models, we actually have also container support. When you're talking about container support, you're talking about being capable of creating those models, training on your own data, deploy that to a Docker container, and use that on the edge whenever your application is. Okay, another thing that we're going to be talking about here is about bot frameworks. Bots are not always seen as AI. They are basically a part of language understanding, but it could actually help people here working with some of their challenges. So bot framework has been released now. It's basically a way for you to do a Django or something like that. If anyone is working one of those challenges, it's a quite easy way for you to understand that. Just search for me to talk about a bit more of that. Knowledge mining. So knowledge mining, if one of the services that's not a lot talked about, is about Azure Search. Azure Search is part of our machine learning models. It's just basically a way for you to get your documents and extract information about your documents. You might have documents in different ways, each by doing OCR. They talk a little bit about the web page that you are trying to extract data from. Is one of the challenges that we have here. So Azure Search can help you and extract this data from the web page, do a lot of different language configuration and tag detection on that, and actually expand that for you, extract, enhance, and see what's present on that page, and give you that. So with cognitive search, we actually expand that now, and allow that for people to do like normal language, what's called normal language experience or cognitive language experience, that actually say, give me a candidate with 5 years of experience. It's actually, I don't need to know which like column that is, which things that is, it actually can interpret that query and do that for you. And more than that, if you go actually with cognitive search, you can extract this data that's down here, you store that, and from the data that you're extracting for your documents, then you can actually visualize the data with Power BI or even predict that data based on machine learning. So we actually can give me a bunch of documents, I'm going to extract the data, put that in a JSON format for you, then you can actually use that JSON format that's stored here inside your own machine learning model. So it's not only about search, it's about document extraction, knowledge mining as a whole. There's another thing that's called Azure Forms extraction. So form recognizer is going to look at that, any type of form that you have, pass that in. So imagine this is one of the examples that we have. I have some other examples here. So this is scan. So you scan that invoice and it's actually say that this is the invoice for, and this actually give you which project it is and all those types. And you don't need to train that. This data is pre-trained, so you can actually use that starting directly now. So again, all these different services can be used different depending on the application that you have.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
About the tools, are they multiple language compatible?
Yes, we actually support R, Python, but if you want to bring your own Java code or Scala or things like that, Databricks does support all of that too. So depending on the service that you have, you're going to have the different language that you're going to be using for that.
The actual, the written or spoken language of the forms are in.
Oh, the spoken language, okay, yeah. We do have, on spoken language, we have, I think, around 27 language covers right now. But, of course, if we do have support different custom language models that you can actually say, I don't know this language, but I do have some documents that I have the original document and I have the translated document. If I have enough of those, Microsoft can actually train your own language model based on that, even if you start from scratch with custom language to actually build those things for you. Yeah. So these familiar data science tools, we do have a lot of different projects on that. If you want to talk to me more about that, if you go to azurenotebooks.aml, that's some information about that too. Come on. So on the popular frameworks, the idea here is more that Microsoft is looking at how you can translate these from models from one framework to the other one. So Microsoft idea is that doesn't matter if you're using PyTorch, TensorFlow, Scikit-learn, anything like that. You can transform all these models in what we call Onyx model. That Onyx is just a translation layer. So you can actually use a model that was trained in TensorFlow and use PyTorch to refine that model for you. So the idea is actually using Onyx, you can actually transport and transpose these models from one level to that. If you want to use that, just let me know and I can explain to you how you can actually do that. So let's talk a little bit about one of the services that for me is like one of the I really like now is this Azure machine learning service. Azure machine learning is the idea that I'm going to get all this machine learning service that I have and build that all into one service only, or one thing that actually people can use and interchange and be like one IDE for that. So we actually did all those things from the automated machine learning UI to have a visual interface, to actually having notebooks and all of those things integrated in one of the services only. I'm going to show you how to use that in person soon. So this is just showing to you. So the idea here is, again, I have an app developer, I have a data scientist, doesn't matter where they came from, they collaborate, they build the app, train the model, validate the model, deploy the model, and monitor the model in real time. Go back again, train it again, test it, like all these, the normal development life cycle, but giving this development life cycle to the data science world and bringing that back to data scientists. Again, this is an open platform, so we actually support a lot of different runtimes, and I can actually be using Onyx, open data sets, and all of those things. So there's a lot of openness on that. We do publish the code for all of these things here. Again, all of this is basically like in a really, really powerful infrastructure. So if you want to tell me like I want to train 500 GPUs, right now we can actually just spin up that up, do it, and close it again. The good thing about that is that Azure doesn't charge you for the time that the model is not running. So you can actually say, I want to train my model in 500 GPUs parallel, and it's just going to take the time that these models take to train. After that, it's going to shut down those machines and you stop paying for that. So that's the biggest difference when you compare to other services that are doing that. Okay, before I'm moving to the other part, I'm going to show you a little bit of what is this and what we are talking about this here. So this is the experience that you have on the machine learning workspace. Okay, so if I go to home here, sorry. If I go to home, this actually is an interface that I go ml.azure.com. I'll get inside this interface here. That's going to have for me a lot of options for me to interact with that. I have the automated machine learning that actually is going to show me what the experiments that I have and the results of the experiments that I have. We are going to understand soon the idea of what's these experiments. I have my visual interface. That's actually the old machine learning studios that people are used to use. I can actually use notebooks. So I do have the same idea of notebooks that I have there. So if I go to accelerated models, for example. So this is the normal Jupyter notebook that I use it too, and I can actually set up and run this environment directly from here. So it's like just even looks better than the normal Jupyter notebook app that you have on your application, but because it's a new version. So, but again, it's just basically the same thing that you have on Azure notebooks or on notebooks, Jupyter notebooks on your computer. You can actually have the same experience here. But not only that, because this is okay. Having a Jupyter notebook, I can have that on my computer. What's the difference? What this is bringing value to me? So when you're doing these things here, you're actually able to share and manage things like, for example, if I create a data set from local file, imagine something like that. If I put the data set here, a CSV file, or anything like you have that from the data set, this can be shared against all of your customers or your developers that's using the same thing. So, and actually auto-detect schemas and all those things that you expect from data set management to do. But the best thing that I think is that the idea of these experiments. So what's the experiment and how these work, okay? So let me show you one of these experiments here. When you're using machine learning service, you have this idea of having a log of what you have been doing, okay? So you can actually say, instead of me testing something, modify the parameter, then test again, and then I say, okay, how was the result back again? How can I compare these two? Is my new model better than my old model? How can I actually change that? So what this does actually is comparing your parameters and actually even adjusting that to actually look at what are that. So for example, here I'm having one of the models, one of my runs, and every run that your experiment does, you have all the parameters that the run was completed, these are the categories that you have, and I can have like metrics. So for example, if I look at the categories here, all of them are red, and I see cosine wave of that, and all of these different data for that. Even images, oh come on. I can see what's the tangent of that. These are all things that you can save as part of your run. So you actually have a lot of different outputs of your run, if you have child runs on that. But all of this is just a JSON file. Again, this part of your run, you can actually see that there's an even better view of that, but I don't have it here. Okay, so this way for me to check my experiments. But the thing that what I can do here is that automated ML. What's my automated ML? I can actually create this experiment here, and I can select one of my, like the classification model that I have, selecting the training compute, that's just my cluster that I want to use. So if I select my training compute and I put that here, I need to select a data set. I don't have a data set here. But after I select the data set, it's going to tell me, I'm going to run your experiment, change a little bit the parameters, changing what the algorithm that you're using. If you're using boosted tree, you're going to change which one of the algorithms that you're using and all that. Changing which inputs you have, which labels you're using, which columns you're using. Changing that, and I'm going to give you which one is the best model that you have running on all of those different algorithms. So I'm going to spread the training, do these different changes, and actually give you back the result from that. So that's actually what automated ML does, and you can actually get those results back. I don't have anyone here to do that. The visual interface, for those that don't know the visual interface, let me just see if this one is not the visual interface running. I have that visual interface running somewhere here. Yes. So this is one of the visual interface running. So this is just basically how can you create a machine learning. This one is a quite complex one, but this is basically a drag and drop way for you to create machine learning models. So you actually say, I'm going to get this is my trained model here, but I'm going to go and do a partition of my data. So this means like, okay, I want to create some sampling. So I want to sample 10% of my data, okay? Or here it's actually using 1% of the data. So this is going to just drag there, my data input, outside I'm going to get my data output. Again, I'm not getting into details here because I have a lot of things to pass. But this is basically like a drag and drop way for you to test machine learning models. It's not going to have everything, okay? So if you want to get deeper, if you want to customize and things like that, I still suggest you to use Azure Notebook, but we're just exporting the data, doing some transformations, removing columns, adding columns, or things like that. That's quite easy to do. You can actually do here data manipulation, and you can see like add rows, clean missing data, add the metadata for that, joining data from different columns and things like that. All this work that normally takes a long time for you to actually be typing the code for that. You can actually just do that here, export the end data, and you can run it again and put that as part of a network. It actually can be exported as your pipeline, so you actually can put that as every new data that comes in, pass through these different transformations before it's exported and do the parsing for me. Okay, I talked a little bit about this new like service that we have, but if you want to keep using the old things, okay, like not the old things, but the pre-trained models, okay, the things that are built in for you already. This one application that is done already, that's called Azure Intelligence Kiosk. That's just basically showing off the different capabilities of Azure ML, okay? So if I do here, let's see, here, Microsoft Camera here. I'll just go back here. If I come now, let's hope that this, if I go to real-time crowd insights, hopefully you guys don't mind, but if I go and do this, if my camera helps a little bit. So it's try to identify you. So it actually gives you, try to guess age, happiness, surprise, and all that from the whole crowd in real time. So it's quite interesting way for you to view. Again, that is just showing up the APIs that you can call with cognitive service. These are APIs that you don't need to train, you don't need to do anything, and it's actually able to do that. The form recognizer, as we talked about, let me just show you here this W2. So this is one of the forms that's going to pass through. So imagine that this is an image that you have, and you pass that, send that to the API, and that's what it comes back. If you want to see the JSON, that's what's come back on the JSON. That's actually parsing that, saying that's the key value pairs. Or you see like employee. What?
Can this form recognize barcodes as well?
I don't know if we recognize barcodes. I never check it for that. I don't know if we recognize barcodes. Yeah, I don't think we have an example here for barcode. But yeah, it's easy for you. Just call the API and see what's coming back on a barcode. One thing that's quite interesting from the things that we saw here is that there's this service now that's anomaly detector. So if you have a series of data and you just want to find something that's different on that, you don't need to actually, if you have a time series, you don't need to put a new a labeled data on that. Just say, this is my time series, and now I want you to detect any anomalies that you have on that. Okay, so let me just try it with this one here. So this is my previous time, and I load that in, and now I'm actually predicting from now on. You can see these points here, yellow points, where we get alerts of anomalies that happen on the new data that's after that area. Say I just loaded that in, say like up to here, I had that data in. So now try to predict what I'm gonna have for the future. It's predicting what you're going to have for the future. And you see that it automatically adjusts because you had an anomaly here. So after this anomaly here, I'm expecting to have higher points later on because it's something that's a little bit more expected than I had before. So it actually is predicting the anomaly based on that. So this is actually another example here. Even if you have sparse data, so like this one is a more sparse data set. So you see like I normally have 3 points, and then I have nothing during some period. So I actually can predict that even on time series, and it's going to predict that anomaly and detect anomaly on that too. So you see like I have a spike here. So it's actually saying that this is different from what I had before. Even if my data here is not labeled, I do not have like what is good, what's bad. I'm just saying that this is different from what I expected during that time. So basically that. And again, this is a service that you don't need to train anything. Just call REST API, and it's going to detect anomalies for you on that data set. Okay, I think I'm not going to show the other one.
Crowd insights, what is it moving?
It actually is able to follow people.
It can?
Yeah, because it gives you what's called the face ID.
Oh.
So you can actually say, based on what I recognize it from that person, I create a new GUID. That's the ID that I give for that person. One thing that is not that reliable, because like I don't have a lot of image to train for someone. So if the person comes next day with a different haircut or with a different hat or something like that, I'm not sure that that's going to recognize that because I haven't trained that model. One thing that you can do is there is a custom face API where you can actually send the data, the training data, and then it's able to recognize that person, give you the names of person and things like that. So there's a different API that actually is able to do that. So that's intelligent kiosk, that's showing that. I do have another example, and this is for custom vision, okay? So on custom vision, if I go to customvision.ai here, I created this when I was going to a conference, and they said to me, like, you're going to be doing stand duty, so I needed to be there waiting for people. I said, like, okay, I need to have something to entertain people there, because just staying there, like saying, okay, I'm here for Microsoft, not going to get anyone excited. So I said, like, okay, I'm the bus, I'm the train, I need to get something done. I went to go in there and say, okay, let's go for the first pound land that I found. And I bought some puppets. So there's one here. So there's one here. So I bought some puppets, and I said, okay, let's see if I can do something with that. So if I go for AKA I did this puppet detector class. So if I go to aka ms/puppets, so if I go here now and I point this in, you see it actually gave me a 99% chance that the duck is present in this. But if I get another one, let me just try to go here. Let me go for continuous now because it's going to be tricky for me to be holding two puppets to get that to that count. Oh, come on. That's 11. Oh, come on. Okay, so let me try to see if I can get something. Oh, it's too fast for me. I'm just, okay, now it's going to be probably going to be able to see better. Who is there? Didn't detect anyone. I can adjust the sensibility of that. But for example, if I got this one here, so you see 99% of the duck and 95% chance of the penguin that's there. So if I let me just get the dog. You didn't get that close. Come on. The internet's not the best here probably. So, and this actually works, it doesn't matter where you are, like phone or something like that. It does work and syncs all that across everyone. Everything that I'm doing here, if I go to, come on, if I can get out of the full screen. Okay. If I go to custom vision now, probably don't want to stop continuous now. If I go to custom vision and I go to my puppet detector class and I look predictions, I can actually look at the different predictions that it has made. I think these ones are in interaction 4. I think interaction 5. Yeah, so I can look at the different predictions that it has made today, and I can even fix those ones that have been made today. So for example, this one here say that only 46% of chance of the mouse being there, but I want to correct that saying that the mouse was there and the dog was there too. Save and close, and that's it. That's the only thing that I need to actually improve my model and keep doing my model back on that. So the idea is that you have an API, you send the data in, it comes back what's the probability of each one of those things being there on the image, and then it works from there, and you actually have all the images that you use it to predict. It should be here somewhere. So this one was the one that I use it now. You see, so it actually is on the one here, and it suggests first the one that it was more confused. So this one for him is the one that he was more confused about it. So you can actually say, actually this one was just a penguin here. Save and close that. And it's actually going to refresh and give you like another suggestions of what you want to be adding to your test set. So this kind of thing is something like, okay, what are the things that you want to do? What are the things that you want to train? This is the middle ground. It's not going all the way to Azure Machine Learning Service where you need to type the code and do your actual Python code for that. It's not using cognitive service where you actually have everything built in and you just send the data and you cannot change anything that's there. It's like a middle ground where you can send the data in, classify some part of the data, and then use that on your day-to-day work. Again, after you do the training, so these are my training images here. I can actually train that. Just say, if I train that, I can do a quick training. I'm training here now is interaction 6. And then I just need to hit publish. It's going to publish a new URL for that. Let's go for iteration 5. This what was my normal test of the iteration 5. I get some results on that. And if I look at predict on URL, I can actually get the URL for that. Simple as that. And if I use the export, I can actually save that to a Docker file or TensorFlow or CoreML to use as like Android and all those different things. So the idea here again, they're all different levels of service. So you can actually go all the way deep using machine learning service, get deep into the code, build the things, and even still get some help on like how you organize your flow, how you actually retrain the things and do those tests again. Or you can go the complete opposite way, go into cognitive service, get something that's done already, get the response back, and just use the API through intelligence in your app. The idea is more about, doesn't matter where you are, like if you're more a data scientist and you just want to get deep into the data, clean your data, and work on that, you can do it. If you're just a developer or you're just a business person that's looking to get some data out, you can actually use that things and use the same thing. Okay, I think that's that. Any help, just let me know. Thank you.